You might be wondering why I'm in this basement holding this retro-style Game Boy handheld. Well, let me explain, but first, go on and take a look around. There you go. Observe this empty space. It's actually very relevant for today's video because the irony of being an adult and owning the entire house is that this basement is nothing more than a cold and dusty room for storage and boxes and holiday decorations and a lawnmower that hasn't seen the light of day in over 2 years. It's a place you go into briefly and then leave unless you are imaginative. And that's where context and perspective are really what matters here. In the mind of a child, this space is where adventures can happen. It's the empty space, a blank canvas for a child's imagination. If I were a kid again, this would be the space where me and my friends would play hide and seek or play Nerf wars, build forts that covered the furniture or other boxes and blankets that turned the space into pirate battles, for instance, spending the entire afternoon inventing other worlds. Now, the real conviction is I was down here recently putting some things away, and then it hit me. This room would have been my favorite as a kid. And then I started thinking, is that really any different from my relationship with gaming as an adult compared to how it was when I was younger? When I was a kid, simplicity created space for imagination. Games didn't need to be massive or cinematic. They just needed to be fun. Cute pixels, an iconic melody at the intro screen, or just good level design. That was really all it took. But now, as an adult, I have all the latest tech at my fingertips. Accessibility is literally everywhere. I have game stores, I got subscriptions, powerful PC mods and ROMs, and a backlog that just frankly screams I have a compulsive shopping disorder. Now, I've been talking a lot about handheld PCs on this channel, and I don't regret that at all. I think there's something brilliant about having a small computer that plays anything that I want on the go. But when I began to unbox this little handheld device that TrimUI sent me, I felt something different. Maybe it was the color or the form factor that called back to my innocence, the shape that fits into your palm or your pocket and doesn't demand to be spectacular, but something that reminded me of my childhood was in this small and very unassuming form factor. It reminded me of being small and patient and really having to learn a game's limits and still loving it anyway. When I was growing up, I only had 6 Nintendo 64 games, and back then that felt like a massive library. My friends and I would trade titles, but even then you might have like 8 or 10 games total between the whole group. That dynamic lasted for years. We treated our cartridges like treasure that we trade amongst each other. You learned every corner of those small digital worlds because you had to. You learned to appreciate every single level design or an NPC's dialogue, for instance, or those secret rooms because you spent months returning to the same game. I remember playing Majora's Mask for 2 years straight, a game that I could easily beat in a week now if I tried. But as a kid, I wasn't rushing to the end. I wasn't just trying to consume as much as I could. I was actually enjoying the story. I wanted to live in that world. And somehow Majora's Mask still feels bigger than most games that I play today. And I think that's because I spent years with a single title rather than just weeks. And I think that familiarity and that kind of depth kind of outshines the modern approach to gaming. I really believe that games felt more magical back then, not just because of nostalgia, which I do admit is a factor, but because I think limited access made every game matter. A simple sprite could feel like a companion simply because you took time with it. These days, I am insanely guilty of having a massive backlog across multiple consoles and generations. Some games I've bought and never even installed, or I just wanted to feel the hit of buying something new. That instant gratification loop, buying, adding to the library, never playing, that is really the modern gamer's quiet trap. And that's one of the weird problems you have in adulthood. Now that we have adult money, the barrier of asking for a new game, which was once limited by our parents' permission, is now removed. We can buy 100 titles, install none, and repeat. And I think if we're honest, most of us probably doom scroll the Steam page or the eShop looking for something new just to scratch the itch of adventure. And that search behavior actually rewires how we experience games. We are hunting dopamine, not wonder anymore. And sometimes I think we get overly critical of modern games, but maybe that's because our brains are just fried from overstimulation. Developers had to adapt to that sort of rhythm. So many modern games are insanely polished and beautiful, massive worlds and just the best graphics ever, but often lack the quiet core that makes a game linger after you stop playing it. I don't think that's 100% on the gamers. Some studios clearly are just chasing the dollar, but the kind of quality we saw growing up feels different. Back then, storytelling and gameplay depth carried a game. Today, it often feels like graphics can be a substitute for substance. Take Chrono Trigger, for example, one of the best RPGs of all time. Simple art style, deliberate pacing, characters you actually care about, and it still holds up perfectly. You don't need cutting edge rendering to make a story land. You just need intentionality. Now, I just got this little handheld, and honestly, it has been deeply convicting me. It reminded me to slow down, to literally just embrace minimalism again. Just holding it brought me back to the memories of games like Oracle of Seasons or those early Mario games and the dozens of tiny little perfect puzzles that really just stuck with me. They were short games, yes, but they really had an impact because when I returned to them, I remembered the beauty in simplicity. And that's something that I think is lost on modern gaming. And maybe that's what creativity really is, staying in one small space long enough for your imagination to fill it up. And when everything's accessible, there's no room left for curiosity. When something is limited, your mind actually starts to wander, to remix what little is available into something new. Constraint actually becomes the soil for creativity. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my Steam Deck. It's literally a portable PC, and my younger self would have lost his mind over that fact. But I keep chasing the same feeling that I had under a blanket on a summer night in middle school playing my Game Boy Advance with that external clunky light, totally lost in a simple game like The Incredibles. Something I didn't even like The Incredibles movie, and yet The Incredibles game was becoming a staple in middle school summer nights. Those memories defined what adventure felt like to me in the digital space. Now, somewhere along that line, too much access corrupted the magic, and that's why I wanted to invite you into a little experiment, a digital detox for your gamer brain. So here's the challenge. I want you to pick one device and one game and play only that for 30 days. No doom scrolling, no browsing for what's next, no buying just new games, just one game, one device. I genuinely think that your enjoyment of the hobby is going to skyrocket. You might even rediscover what you loved about gaming in the first place. Play the game without pressure. Let the game become an event in your day or in your week, not just background noise you use while watching Netflix. I'd actually encourage you to journal during these 30 days. Track how your anxiety and attention change over that time. Write a sentence after each session. What surprised you about the game? What did you notice that was unique about the game? How did your brain react? And maybe you feel calmer or less fidgety after each session. Note any creative ideas that pop up while you're playing during this challenge. You'll be amazed how much freer your mind becomes when you give something your full attention and how that actually reciprocates back to you. And if you're a creator, whether you make music, videos, art, or write, I believe you're going to notice something wild start to happen in your brain chemistry. I think that simplicity that made old games magical will start to bleed into your own work. You'll start valuing texture and patience and color and meaning over speed and perfection. You'll remember that creativity isn't about producing endless amounts of content. It's about feeling something deeply enough that it moves you to make something in return. Limiting your inputs I think actually makes us value what is output. Maybe I should make that into merch. And that's why I think retro gaming can heal your creativity. It's not just nostalgia, it's medicine for an overstimulated brain. It's a reminder that limitation is the birthplace of imagination. It teaches you to look more closely, to savor the small little pleasures, and to create space for curiosity. Now, I know that not everyone has access to something like a TrimUI, and that's fine. You don't need this to experience what I'm talking about. A simply battery-powered handheld or an old cartridge or even just your simple favorite mobile game that you commit to for a single month will do. The hardware isn't the point. The practice is really what I am encouraging my audience to become part of. Now, if you want one of these devices, I'm actually giving away one of my back units for free to one of the lucky subscribers to my newsletter. The link is in the description below. That's my way of saying thanks to you, but also a little push to help someone start their own digital detox. And finally, thank you so much to TrimUI for sending me this little device. The nostalgia factor is super real. The feel of the D-pad is exquisite. I love the shoulder buttons on this thing. It's basically pocket-sized healing for my very overstimulated brain. And the quality of this thing is just so freaking nice. Now, I would love to continue this conversation, so hop over in Discord, drop me a message, and we'll pick up where we left off in this video. And I would love to chat with all of you then. Thanks so much for watching, nerds. I really appreciate it. Again, if you want to win one of my handheld devices for free, sign up for the newsletter in the description below. I'm happily give one of you guys one of these devices, and I think you'll enjoy it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, tell your grandma I said hi,